Do you personally dislike homosexuals?
Of course, they are disgusting.
So today, everybody is in an uproar. Why are Americans in an uproar? Are they in an uproar because, maybe because Google didn't at least give a good display for Memorial Day? Or are they in an uproar because of that? No. Are they in an uproar because our veterans are being kicked out of hotels and shelters for illegal immigrants today? Are they in an uproar because of that? No. They're in an uproar because Ugandan president signs anti-gay law that includes life in prison as penalty. Now, on Twitter, I have seen this written in so many different ways. At one point, it seemed as though they just were saying they were going to end people for being homosexual. Now, as a Christian, before I get started, as a Christian, what I will say is I don't believe in necessarily ending people for who they are. We are all sinners. And the sacrifices that used to be made, where we used to have to pay for our sins by blood, and the Bible has been atoned in that way because there was the ultimate blood who paid for our sins, and that was Jesus Christ, right? So, and we have to answer to God, in the judgment hour. Okay. So I would get that we can't necessarily just end people for things, but when you get a little bit more information on their law, you'll find that that's not even what's happened. Let me at least show you one person who was in an uproar and what he said. This is Ted Cruz. This Uganda law is horrific and wrong. Any law criminalizing homosexuality or imposing the death penalty for aggravated homosexuality is grotesque and an abomination. All civilized nations should join together in condemning this human rights abuse. I will get back to exactly why Ted Cruz felt the need to say that, even though this was the weirdest flex ever right now with everything we have going on. But don't take this comment in face value too much, okay? Now, when I saw the words aggravated homosexuality, I said, wait a second, what is that? Let me find out what that actually means. So I went back, at least in the New York Times. I can't pull up Ugandan law. First of all, let's be clear. There's nothing new to African anti-LGBTQ laws or even conservative East. They say it here. There's nothing new to that kind of stuff. The law also decrees the death penalty for anyone convicted of aggravated homosexuality, a term defined as, pay attention to the definition, as acts of same-sex relations with children or disabled people, those carried out under threat or while someone is unconscious, okay? The offense of attempted aggravated homosexuality carries a sentence of up to 14 years. And also there's a piece where it says knowingly transmitting HIV to another person. So I have to wonder what's going on in America when this is a problem. But here's the better part to encapsulate all of this. Why are we concerned? This is not our country. Our country is in America, and we have enough degeneracy going on here that we can't even deal with it all. But we're concerned about what's going on in Uganda. That's their country. No matter how you feel about this law, you can think it's the worst law that ever existed on the face of the planet. That's your right to think that, but you don't live there. If you live in America, you don't live there. You can think it's the greatest law that ever existed on this planet. You can think that, and you don't live there. Ted Cruz, first of all, the fact that he calls the law an abomination. No, not the aggravated homosexuality, okay, that we just discussed. That's not the abomination. It's the law that's the abomination, right? And they should join together in condemning this human rights abuse. You know what that means? That means it's time to sanction Uganda. But I talked about that in my last episode that I made about Uganda. They don't care. They don't want the money. They don't care. The East is tired of this secular living. No, that doesn't mean that they're so perfect over there. They're not going to be the poster child for this kind of stuff like we are. Okay. And so War Monitor says breaking EU and US may impose sanctions on Uganda in connection with the adoption of a law against homosexuality. Statements from both the U.S. and Burrell. Biden calls for the immediate repeal. It says Uganda's new law is a tragic violation of the universal human rights, one that is not worthy of the Ugandan people, and one that jeopardizes the prospects of critical economic growth for the entire country. The West is floundering, okay? They are floundering. And they're saying things like economic growth. You guys can sanction them as much as you want. They don't want your money. In fact, I kind of think that's why they made this bill, so that they can separate themselves from the West, because they are fully committed. They're going with the East. These people are working with Russia, China for infrastructure and for economic growth. It doesn't happen overnight, but they know it will happen. Uganda made a decision. It is their right to make a decision. They said they had about enough of the degeneracy that they've seen on the side of the West, and they want to make sure that children don't get corrupted over there. And it is their business how they decided to do that. I'll see you guys at the next video. Bye.